The coal power revolution that happened in China a few years ago is essentially finished. Solar has well and truly replaced it. The numbers are absolutely staggering. EV Curve Futurist, who you should follow if you're not already following him, has revealed this data, which is absolutely insane. China has added 1 terawatt of solar power over the first 3 quarters of this year. Coal power plant approvals they've basically been scrapped over the last few months, and China is transforming into a renewable energy superpower. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. I reported on the channel only a matter of days ago that there was a tender, a battery tender, energy storage tender, one of the biggest in the world in China. 20 different companies put their tenders in, and the average price for a complete energy storage system was around $65 per kilowatt hour. That's a complete system. That's not just at the cell level. That is being used. Incredible amounts of batteries are being deployed in order to back up all the new solar that's been installed in China this year. When I say all the new solar, we're talking about enough solar to power literally tens of millions of houses in only 9 months. Now, EV Curve Futurist says this: China added 160 gigawatts of solar in Q1 to Q3 2024, 17.7 gigawatts per month, and is on track to exceed 240 gigawatts this year, pushing total solar capacity in China past 1 terawatt. Meanwhile, new coal approvals dropped 83%, with only 9 gigawatt approved. Solar, wind, and storage are reshaping the energy mix at record speed. So, if for the entirety of this year, China has only approved 9 gigawatts of coal power plants, and they are going to install this year 240 gigawatts of solar, that's only within 12 months, then you can see here that coal is basically irrelevant. I mean, they've approved only 9 gigawatts of coal power plants to be installed over the next few years. Spread that out over a couple of years' time, and China's installing more solar in a single week than all of the coal power plants that they approved for all of this year. Coal power plant approvals have crashed versus last year, and last year they crashed as well. In the third quarter and the fourth quarter of last year, coal power plant approvals just dropped off a cliff by around 92%. They've fallen a further 83%. It's basically like the Chinese government saying, why do you want one of these? And the reason that they're saying that to companies that are wanting to build these coal power plants, if they are wanting to do it, in fact, if it's not just state-owned, is because most of them are making a loss. Around 70% of the coal power plants in China are making a loss, and that's primarily due to this incredible rise in renewables. Here are the numbers behind the rise. Q1 to Q3, China added 160 gigawatts of new solar capacity, averaging 17.7 gigawatts every single month. Q4 projections. Historically, Q4 is the strongest quarter for China's renewable installations. If the current trend holds, total solar additions will exceed 240 gigawatts by the end of the year. Cumulative solar capacity. This will push China's cumulative installed solar capacity beyond 1 terawatts, which is more than 1,000 gigawatts this year. In 2024, China approved only 9 gigawatts of coal, representing an incredible 83% decline from 2023. This drop shows a clear shift away from coal, and in fact from nuclear, and a shift towards renewables, wind, solar, and batteries. China, in fact, is installing the equivalent in renewables every single week, the equivalent to 5 nuclear power plants. That's, what's that, 52 times 5. So 250, the equivalent to 250 nuclear power plants worth of renewable energy has been built in China over the past 12 months. Clearly, China is pivoting away from nuclear. Now, a lot of nuclear proponents are saying, hang on a minute, China's building out nuclear. They are. You're right. In the last 12 months, China built 5 nuclear power plants. They're building the equivalent to that in wind, solar, and batteries every single week. Every week, in a single week, China builds out the equivalent renewables to what they did over 12 months worth of nuclear build out. Clearly, nuclear is a very small player in the Chinese energy industry today. China's focus on solar scaling is unprecedented, contributing more than the entire solar capacity of most developed nations in a single year. With the rapid decline in new coal approvals, the energy mix is shifting faster than anticipated, driven by solar, wind and storage. What this means is that there'll be massive ramifications for countries like Australia, who are very dependent upon China buying coal. China won't stop building out renewables. It will continue building, and the pace is actually accelerating. The cost of batteries, wind and solar continues to fall. China continues to build more and more and more. And the pace is accelerating. That means that within 10 years' time, coal power plants across China, many of them will shut down. Many of them, in fact, have already gone bankrupt, and the bankruptcies will very likely accelerate. Now, none of them are running at a capacity above 60%. That means that most of them are making a loss. You can only operate for so long when you're making a loss. Coal demand, especially for Australian coal, will decline rapidly. Australians need to prepare themselves for, if they're working in that industry, guys, if you're working in a coal mine, if you're working in some industry directly related to coal, you need to prepare yourselves to exit that industry. You need to retrain. Think about it. I'm warning you now. You've got plenty of time. You've probably got 2 or 3, 4 years to retrain. You need to do that immediately, though, because this is going to have huge ramifications on countries. Coal power driven economies like Australia. Passing 1 terawatt of solar capacity in 2024, China is leading the renewable energy race worldwide. And in fact, China is planning on eliminating coal. Why would it want it? It's inefficient, it's expensive, it's dirty, it pollutes. And in fact, a report from the United States from a wide range of scientists says that 22 million people died prematurely in the United States over a 20-year period from breathing in coal dust. China does not want this. This is costing the government. It's costing the health industry many, many billions of dollars in premature deaths and cancers and all kinds of things that are caused by pollution. And China is moving away from that. It doesn't want pollution from cars. It doesn't want pollution from industry if it can avoid that. It wants to reduce that. China doesn't want to have to do crazy things when they have events. China right now, what do they have to do? When they have an event, they've got to shut down factories within, a 20-kilometer radius for a week in order to avoid it looking like the area is badly polluted. China doesn't want to have to do that. They want to move away from that so that everything is, the air is clean. People come from overseas and they go, wow, this city is really clean. And it's starting to look like that in China. This change is happening quickly. My last 3 visits to China, I've noticed just a rapid improvement in air quality. It doesn't feel like you're breathing in the kind of diesel and petrol fumes that you breathe in here in Australian cities, and things are changing at the fastest pace that we've ever seen. Global installed solar capacity has hit 2 terawatts, according to estimates from the Global Solar Council and Solar Power Europe. It took 68 years to hit 1 terawatt of solar capacity, but only 2 more years to reach 2 terawatts of solar capacity. As you can see, this is the very literal definition of exponential growth. We are at that point in the S-curve where things are about to get silly, as in incredible speed. To give you some context on this, I'll share with you a story. Imagine you have a chessboard, 68 squares are on that chessboard, and you put 1 grain of rice on the first chessboard, square. You double it on the second, it's now 2. You double it on the third square, it's now 4. That's where we're at right now. We've gone from 2 to 4. Double it again, you're at 8, then you're at 16, then you're at 32. So how many grains of rice would you have on the 68th square on the chessboard if you continued to double the number of grains on each square? If you know the answer, let us know in the comments below. Now here's the number. It's 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 billion, 709 million, 551,615. That's over 1.4 trillion metric tons of rice. Of that 2 terawatts of installed solar capacity, China now has 1 terawatt, or around 50% of all the world's solar. That's enough solar power to power 100 million homes alone. But 2 terawatts actually equals 7 billion solar panels. So really, in theory, 7 billion solar panels is probably enough to power closer to 400 million homes. Once we've doubled this number a couple more times, well, you can see where things are heading. We really don't need coal power. And China is realizing that, and realizing that really, really fast.